Jimbo and Willie spend their Sunday mornings hanging out at their treehouse. Today, they were still fishing for the food they stole from Mr. Jones last time. They had hoped Lloyd had covered their tracks. Of course, the other threat was the local lawman, Timmy. Timmy could be very annoying with his rules, and right now he was walking towards them. This is not going to be good, Jimbo thought and got up from where he was sitting. What do you need? Asked Jimbo. Oh, nothing. Just going around and seeing if anyone is stealing again somewhere, Timmy replied. Willie was very nervous. He didn't like getting into trouble, but such was the camaraderie with Jimbo already. While I'm here, Jimbo, can I ask if you and Willie have permission to live in this place by the woods? Timmy questioned. Jimbo started to think before he could say anything. Willie had interjected. This has been our house since this town existed. No one can just take it away from us. Willie sounded very upset. Jimbo looked at him and uttered, Timmy doesn't know what fun is, you know, Willie, so he has to spoil it for others, but there's always something behind it when he does that. So tell us, what's it about, Timmy? Timmy thought about what Jimbo had said. Is it really true? Nothing, I'm just interested in some issues, but if you don't have them and claim I'm a boring person, then let's do it your way. Make up a game. And whoever wins the game takes the treehouse. Agreed? Timmy added. Jimbo and Willie thought briefly and conferred together so that it would not be heard anywhere. Okay, Timmy, if you want a challenge, you'll get it. But if me and Willie beat you again, you'll give us the day off for our next event and help us with it too. How about that? Jimbo replied. Timmy thought for a long time and then agreed. The first challenge was a classic game of hide and seek, chosen by Willie. Thanks to his powers of observation, Timmy didn't fight back. Timmy started looking, went to a tree and started counting. Willie searched for a place to hide, finally choosing a barrel to crouch behind. When Timmy shouted 10, he began to search for Willie. Jimbo continued to sit by the tree and wait. He couldn't play so that Timmy wouldn't be weakened. Timmy kept walking around the trees. Willie kept peeking out from behind the barrels, looking at Timmy and Jimbo. Jimbo set a time to search. 2 minutes. You're halfway through your time. Jimbo began to make Timmy nervous. Timmy started looking at the barrels. Willie, are you behind those barrels? He didn't get an answer, but he went to look behind them. Willie tried to sneak around them. They both walked around them for a while. Suddenly, Willie got up and tried to run behind a tree, but it was no use. Timmy heard Willie and started to sneak right after him, and slow. Jimbo watched the whole thing and thought it was very funny. I got you, Timmy exclaimed happily. You're one lucky boy, Willie said grumpily. Okay, Timmy, you are a good player. Now come do something really big. Jimbo started to tempt him. He had been wanting to take on Timmy for a long time, and he also needed some stones for the floor of his house, and that was what Mr. Jones had. Mr. Jones had gone to the mill to get supplies, and they should be in place now. So the second job will be stealing, Jimbo said. Timmy didn't like this at all. We're going to steal the supplies that Mr. Jones had for the mill. I saw him walking there with them yesterday. If you're not afraid. Jimbo nudged Timmy. Of course I don't agree with the challenge, but I'm never afraid of anything, and since I beat Willie at his favourite game, this will be easy, Timmy replied. And so the three boys walked together to the mill. Timmy didn't feel good about what he was going to do. Willie was glad he wasn't going to participate, and Jimbo, who was already thinking about getting nice new floors and Timmy volunteering to helping him, this day couldn't turn out better, he thought. There's the supplies we need. Whoever can steal them without being noticed wins. Speed and diligence will decide, Jimbo whispered. Timmy tried to map the environment, and it didn't seem right at all, but if he steals the stuff and then gives it back and explains the whole situation, he won't have any problem, and his honor will still be intact. He's got to win at all costs. Jimbo was all ready, but he's on the case. He hid behind the mill, no one was around. He had the stone supplies. He was within reach. He got up and went to get them. Suddenly, Farmer Jones appeared behind the mill. Jimbo panicked and ran to hide behind the straw. Timmy began to taunt him. Willie stood behind a tree and watched everything from a distance. Timmy also stood nearby, waiting for Jones to move away. He walked towards the straw. Timmy was getting very excited about finally getting Jimbo. Jones took one block of straw, but Jimbo wasn't behind him. He was right next to him, and Jones was already walking away with the straw. Jimbo followed Jones with slow steps, already stealthily looking at the stones lying in the sack on the ground. Timmy already started for the mill. Jones was just laying the straw by the mill so that it would not rain on it, and Timmy began to slide down the wall away from Jones. When Timmy met Jimbo, they were both against the wall. Neither was happy to see the other. "I'm going to take it now, and you're not going to disturb me, understand?" Jimbo whispered, walking towards the stone stocks. Timmy was sick of this. He felt like a thief. Jimbo stood over the stones and began to examine them. Yes, this should be it, he said to himself, only he was just a little boy and he couldn't tighten them. "Come and help me while you're here," he whispered again. Timmy of course didn't go. Come on, before Jones finishes that straw or whatever he's got there." So Jimmy decided to help, so he went over to Jimbo. Together they pulled the stones behind the mill. Meanwhile, Jones was going back for some more straw. He stopped in his tracks and began to think out loud. "I have a feeling that I haven't carried the stones anywhere yet. Or have you?" As Jones finished saying, he took another block of straw and went to hide it under the roof. The boys circled the mill again. When Jones got lost, they walked slowly into the woods where Willie was waiting for them. The boys met Willie and went back. "All right, we'll go to the farm now and return the rocks before Joan notices," Timmy decided. Willie and Jimbo agreed, so they walked towards the farm. But Jimbo wasn't going to take this lying down, and he took a slightly different route than Timmy would have liked. Suddenly, they were back at their house. Timmy was angry. He had just cooperated in a robbery he had to win. "Who won?" Willie asked. "Well, I did, mate. Who else could it be?" Jimbo replied, as he stacked a few rocks from the bag. "This is stealing, Jimbo," said Timmy. "We'll just take some now and we'll go and put the rest back. If I don't need them for our floor, I'll leave them alone." Jimbo defended himself. "But you didn't win by yourself. If I didn't help you, you wouldn't have anything." Jimbo knew he was right, but he didn't want to admit it out loud, so he began to stack stones for his house. Timmy figured they were just using this contest to improve their house. He didn't like it at all, but there was nothing he could do about it now. After hiding the rocks under the house, they went to the farm. Jimbo was pulling it by himself, now that it was only half full, but there was still a contest to be played. And this slowdown certainly didn't end anything. Timmy finally conceded defeat because the rocks stayed with Jimbo. He wasn't interested in stealing, and once he had beaten the boys today, he took that as an accomplishment. The boys looked behind the tree to see if Jones was home yet. Willie ran slowly and Jimbo stopped him right away. So he doubts he'll be as lucky as he was last time. Jones wasn't there. The boys went to return the rocks. Jimbo put them by the chicken coops. But Timmy disagreed and put them by the barn without saying anything. Jimbo was getting very irritated. He was no longer in the mood for it. "Fine, we will play another game. Whoever stays here on the farm the longest wins. And all three of us will play," Timmy said. Jimbo liked the idea, but Willie thought to himself that he didn't want to proceed this way. "Go ahead, it'll be easy hiding out here, there's plenty of room, and after the last experience with Lloyd, it's bound to work." Jimbo began to coax Willie without having to say anything himself. Jimbo had known his friend long and well. Timmy, meanwhile, was looking around, when suddenly he saw Jones approaching the farm with quick steps, looking very angry. Timmy quickly hid behind the barrels, and when Jimbo saw him, he gave Willie a brief warning and everyone went to hide somewhere. Jimbo hid behind a chicken coop, and Willie managed to hide behind a bush. Jones stood again where the sack of stones had been placed. "Do you really think I'm such a stupid farmer that I don't realize what's going on here today?" Jones was very angry, and he even noticed that somehow the stones were somewhat scarce. He started pacing the farm in rage. He knew the boys must be somewhere nearby. He knew, but only about Jimbo and Willie. He didn't know he had 3 troublemakers on the farm. Willie was very nervous. He knew, but he would have to hold on and win. Jimbo started to run away from the chicken coop towards the barn where he had last seen Timmy hiding. Only he wasn't there anymore. He couldn't give up, but he didn't have time to think about it. He could already hear Jones coming after him. Jimbo started running away from him. Timmy was still nowhere to be found, and he'd already circled the barn. Suddenly, he remembered the rocks he'd hidden in the house. He started running fast back to his house. He left Willie there, hoping he could make it, just in case Jimbo made a mistake now and gave up for nothing. When Jimbo ran up to the treehouse, there was no one there. Suddenly, Lloyd appeared. "Hey buddy, I saw Timmy running away from Mr. Jones. You're causing trouble again," said Lloyd. "Which way did he run?" Jimbo asked. "Towards the city," Lloyd replied. Jimbo ran back to Mr. Jones's farm. Willie was already working there and looking very sad. Jones found him. Timmy crept up behind Jimbo and uttered a confident, "I got you both." Jimbo knew he was holding a triumph and replied, "You don't have Lloyd, he saw you run into town." Timmy was getting a little nervous. "That's not true, I was hiding the whole time," Timmy tried to convince Jimbo. Jimbo, however, knew how things were, and even though Willie was now paying for their punishment, they still won. That meant that when the boys planned their next big event, they would go with Timmy.